Breaking news, Dak Prescott has been franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys.
First and foremost on Kirk Cousins, right? Whether to sign him to a long-term deal or another franchise tag.
There's a good chance this is headed for a franchise tag for a second straight year.
I don't think they're going to franchise tag him. I don't think I would franchise tag.
Franchise tag?
Franchise tag.
Franchise tag.
Franchise tag.
Franchise tag and all that stuff, contract and all that.
He is under the franchise tag, which is just a way of keeping you barely together for 1 year.
Nothing is more exciting in sports than a busy offseason, and it seems the NFL is prepared to offer us just that. Last year, Dak Prescott was a recipient of the franchise tag, but managed to secure a deal with the Dallas Cowboys before Tuesday's deadline. However, 9 players were not so lucky, as they received the initial tender to be franchise tagged. You also may be listening to this and wondering to yourself, what is a franchise tag? In order to fully comprehend the concept, we must put on our sports economist caps. There are 2 things you need to know about NFL contracts. Most of them are never fully guaranteed, and salaries are categorized by each position. If someone is playing on the franchise tag during the season, that salary is fully guaranteed. The bottom line is that the franchise tag is a method that NFL teams can use to prevent one upcoming free agent from testing the open market. Teams will usually designate a player because of stalled contract negotiations. The franchise tag has 2 variations, exclusive and non-exclusive. An exclusive tag means a player can only negotiate with the team that issued the tag, and a non-exclusive tag means a player can negotiate with other teams, but the original team has a chance to match the offer. If a player with a non-exclusive tag ends up signing with another team, the original team will receive compensation in the form of 2 first-round picks. Now let's get into how much a franchise tag is worth. For this example, we will use the quarterback position from last offseason. An exclusive tag is worth the average of the top 5 salaries at the position. The exclusive tag is not used very often. Most tags that are issued are non-exclusive, which are a bit more complicated. First, you take the sum of the quarterback franchise tag amounts over the past 5 years. Then you divide that by the sum of the salary caps for the past 5 years, and then multiply that by the current year salary cap, which in 2020 was $198.2 million. After calculation, the non-exclusive franchise tag for quarterbacks was approximately $26.8 million. Lost revenue from this pandemic will decrease the salary cap this year. According to Over the Cap, the projected number is supposed to be around $24.1 million. Here are the franchise tag figures for every other position. In a usual offseason, each position would see a slight increase in salary from the previous year. Another stipulation with a franchise tag is if a player's previous salary is higher than the proposed amount, they are offered 120% of what they made last season. No player has ever been franchise tagged 3 times in a row, but if they were, they will be eligible to make 144% of their previous salary. The question remains, who benefits more from the franchise tag, the player or the team? It really depends on the situation. In the case of Kirk Cousins, he was a player who benefited from the franchise tag. After making his feelings clear about not wanting to sign a long-term deal with Washington, the team franchise tagged him in 2016 and 2017. Instead of tagging him for the 3rd time, the now called football team relented and Cousins was finally able to test the free agency market. His persistence paid off as he signed the first fully guaranteed contract in NFL history with a 3-year, $84 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings. Did that deal ultimately work out for Kirk and the Vikings? Well, he has since signed a 2-year extension, but overall success is still yet to be determined. In the case of Le'Veon Bell, his franchise tag story went a little differently. When his rookie contract expired in 2017, the Pittsburgh Steelers applied the franchise tag. Since both sides were unable to agree to terms, he played out that season on the tag. Among all other running backs that season, he ranked 1st in rushing attempts, 1st in receptions, 2nd in total yards, and tied for 3rd in touchdowns. The Steelers franchise tagged him again with long-term negotiations at a standstill, and in response, he held out for the entire season and never played a single game. The team finally allowed him to enter free agency, and he was able to sign a lucrative 4-year, $52.5 million deal with the New York Jets. However, only $27 million of that was guaranteed. He would end up being released less than a year and a half later. The blame for his disappointing tenure is still up for debate, but if the reports of him turning down a 5-year, $70 million contract from the Steelers is true, it appears the team was a larger beneficiary in the end. For the players on the franchise tag right now, Each team has until the July 15th deadline to negotiate a deal, otherwise they'll be forced to play out the season on the tag, setting up more drama for next offseason. For Centennial Sports Central, I'm Jordan McDonald.